What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel and to another Elden Ring video. There's a set of 4 weapons in the game that allow you to gain a small amount of runes every time you strike an enemy, and in today's video we're going to be looking at exactly how these weapons work, but also where you can find them in the overworld. Now, a couple of things first about these weapons. So the 4 weapons in question that we are talking about is the Celebrant Skull, the Celebrant Sickle, the Celebrant Rubric, and the Celebrant Cleaver. Now, in the case of the Sickle, Rubric, and Cleaver, these only give you 10 runes per strike, whereas the Skull, which is the superior one of the 4, you actually get 20. So while you won't be raking in the runes, so to speak, this does actually add up over time, and certainly from a collector's perspective, you might want to add these 4 weapons to your collection. And one other thing I do want to mention is that it doesn't actually increase the amount of runes that you get back by every strike by leveling up the weapon, so it's actually in your benefit to leave these weapons in low level so that they don't deal as much damage. In other words, that it takes more strikes to actually down an enemy, which equals into more runes. Now, first things first, the area that you're going to be farming these weapons at is actually all the way up here in Altus Plateau, and what you're looking for is the Windmill Village waypoint. Now, you'll recognize this area as Dominula, where you have all the dancers essentially running around, and this is where we'll be farming 3 of the weapons, and where we can also find the Skull, which is actually the superior one of the 4, so luckily this is the easier one to get. So to get the Skull is extremely simple. You simply just spawn in right where I did now. You run around the side here, and you'll notice there's a little path that you can follow here, and a couple of falcons, eagles, whatever in the front here. You're just going to come all the way past them, and on this corpse over here is actually where you're going to be able to find the Skull. Now, the other 3 items you have to farm, as mentioned, from the mobs that are in Windmill Village. Geez, that's a tough word to say. In Windmill Village. And one thing that I would advise you to do before you actually start farming is to increase your arcane as much as possible. And of course, one of the easiest ways, or the 2 easiest ways really to do that, is simply first of all to make sure that you equip the Silver Scarab, which raises your discovery, and then also just to go to your inventory. Go to your inventory, go to your consumables, and consume a silver pickled fowl foot, which further increases your arcane discovery. Now, with both of these, you are going to be sitting at about 235 discovery, and that's a good place to start and essentially start farming these, because the 3 weapons that I've mentioned, the Sickle, the Rubric, and the Cleaver, are random drops from the mobs up in the area. Now, as far as farming the 3 other weapons, the Sickle, the Rubric, and the Cleaver, my advice would be to start at the bottom of the village and essentially work your way up, much like you see in the background right now in the footage, in the route that I'm taking, essentially killing every single mob all the way on the way to the top, and then at the top resting and essentially working your way back down again. Now, the reason why I advise you to rest and not to fast travel down to a pad is if you've used a silver pickled fowl foot, for instance, to increase your arcane discovery, if you fast travel, that effect will wear off. So you'll want to rest as to not lose that effect and essentially gain, the maximum usage out of one. Now, I can get about 1.5 to almost 2 rotations, in other words, all the way up and kind of halfway down, or almost all the way down on one of these items. So maybe you can do the same, and you can see now in the footage in the background, you will notice that I'm actually at the top, going all the way around and looting the last 3 mobs, which are kind of like around and to the side. However, in the entire time that I farmed, they never dropped a single weapon, so I think it's kind of okay to basically cut them out and just to farm, sort of up and down the whole time until you get all 3 to drop. But again, as I've mentioned, the actual fact is that the Skull is superior because it has the superior effect. It has 20 runes on strike back to you instead of 10 that you get with the Sickle, Rubric, and Cleaver. However, if you're like me and a completionist, then you'll want all 4, and your best bet is just essentially to farm this area up and down. That, however, is it for the video. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it this far. Good luck with the farm. Let me know in the comments down below if it took you a long time to find these weapons, if you like using them, if you even knew that they existed. But thank you so much for watching. As I said, it's just super important to me that you have a fantastic morning, a great afternoon, and a super awesome evening wherever you are in the world. And until next video, fucking cheers. They want the best of me now.
best of me now, best of me now, best of me. They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me. They want the best of me.